Let's look at the story about Harare residents who yesterday expressed outrage at commuter omnibus owners for hiring rogue drivers after a combi driver recklessly turned right in front of an oncoming fuel tanker at Kwazana turnoff on the Harare-Bulawayo road, resulting in a collision that claimed 7 lives whilst 6 passengers were injured.
Well, almost all accidents can be attributed to drivers' recklessness, with the Traffic Safety Council of Zimbabwe estimating that 94% of all road accidents are due to human error, while poor road infrastructure and other factors contribute just about 6%.
This has resulted in the public calling for drastic measures to govern the public transport sector. The police called on all drivers to be safety conscious, urging public service vehicle owners to rein in on their drivers.
Where 7 people are now confirmed to have died when this combi had a collision with a fuel tanker at the controlled intersection of First Street and Bulawayo Road in Kwazana 7. And it is alleged, because investigations are still continuing, it is alleged that this combi driver did not stop at the controlled junction, and in the process he had to interfere. He did not give way to the fuel tanker, which had a right of way to proceed at the junction. This is quite sad, and we are currently trying to ascertain the total number of people who were in the combi, because initially we had established that 11 people had been injured and 5 people had died. Later on, 2 died on admission at a local hospital. So we'll be releasing more details in due course. What it entails is we want all drivers, whether one is driving a public service vehicle, whether one is driving a private vehicle, whether one is driving a company vehicle or a haulage truck or a bus, people should just be safety conscious. There is no need to be in a hurry. There is no need to be arrogant on the road. There is no need, to get overexcited. People should just be law-abiding citizens. That way, we can contribute towards the safety of travelers on the country's roads. We will be releasing the names of the victims tomorrow, but we also want to call upon the operators to rein in on the drivers, because the behavior which is being shown by drivers on the country's roads is deplorable, to say the least.
Commissioner Nyati there explaining how this whole thing unfolded. Very, very reckless driving there from the gentleman there who got injured as well. So social media users on the ZTN pages called for stiffer regulations regarding driving public service vehicles, while others called for a ban on kombis completely. Now, following responses from the public, the police say they will take action on rogue drivers and errant police officers engaging in corrupt activities which will cost lives.
The drivers must also have the correct attitude when one is driving on the country's roads. They must have the correct mindset, the correct culture, because what is happening currently, it clearly indicates that the way people are driving, we need to self-introspect, so that at the end of the day, we do not continue to record some of the accidents which we are currently recording as a country. And besides, we will also, take note that there are drivers who are also driving under the influence of alcohol, and we will certainly ensure that action is taken. And if there are drivers out there who allege corruption on the part of police officers, we have always engaged the associations, and they said reports should be made, and I can assure you action will be taken without fear or fear.
You know what? The issues of tragedies on our roads continue to disturb us. But, for me, the continued recklessness, and I was saying this in the first hour, that primarily, obviously, the height of recklessness is witnessed primarily with these public transport operators. But the reality as well is that because of that recklessness, some of us have also got in on the action, even as private.
Oh, you see a lot of private guys driving like maniacs.
And they will justify it, saying, you know what, it's already a jungle out there, because they're saying if I don't drive like that, these combi operators or these public transport operators are just taking the mickey, and they sort of want to sort of like pushed back. But I think it's important that we come together. We have a system. I don't know, what are your suggestions? What would you like to see happen in terms of managing this crisis with combi operators? Because it's been a scourge for years.
Do you know what? The challenge that we have is that the majority of the populace are not driving, so they depend on public transport. So we need a very solid public transport system that is very heavily regulated, If the combis are going to stay on the streets, we need to have stiffer and more policing, as it were. Not necessarily having the police officers out there. There's technology these days. This can be done quicker than what we are doing now. So, a guy would know that if I get into this intersection without actually, first of all, stopping, there's a camera that's looking at me and it's definitely going to report back. And I may lose my license or something like this. And these are things that happen. You've lived in Europe. You've seen how a robust, I'm speaking like a government official, robust transport system
politician.
works. But the truth of the matter is, yes, I do feel some part of me wants those combis banned. But I also have the plight of the people who are, using and depending on public transport. But these guys are terrible.
Outside of just maybe regulating how these public transport operators function, it's also important to create a viable and safe public transport system.
I think it's important. My very good brother there, Honorable Felix Simona, I think this is a very huge challenge on his desk as the Minister of Transport. Him and his team, my other good brother at the Traffic Safety Council of Zimbabwe, Mr. Munoda Wafa. I think these are guys that need to sit and put their heads together to come up with some real solutions. And also, again, we have this issue of errant police officers. You will see the guys. Like this is a trend, where these combi touts, they will go back on the back of a car, and this thing is moving, and then they will pass through a roadblock. I've seen that happen many, many, many times, and I think, come on, it's who's supposed to?
Who's policing?
You know what I mean?
That's the question. Anyway, let's move on to our next story.
And one more thing before you move to the next story. The other thing that has been said, I think this one, the commissioner and the crew at ZRP can try and address it. There was a trend at some point where the actual owners of these cars were actually police officers. I think it's a story that was broken many, many times, discussed in many forums. If they are, come on, guys, get your drivers to do the right thing.
Or maybe how sometimes when there's different competitions or whatever it is that is happening, you say, employees of such and such are not allowed to take part in this thing. Maybe we would say, if you're working for
economical challenges.
Listen. No, I'm not saying every single police officer, but I'm saying if you are a traffic police, I mean, maybe it's not a good idea for you to run because there's a conflict.
Let me tell you where you're playing right now. You're going to drive after this.
But next
set of roadblock you're going to.
I will stand on this. I will stand on this, and if nobody has brought this up, I will stand on my business. This is my suggestion. This is my proposal. Honorable Minister, the Police Commissioner, can we put something in place where if somebody is working specifically in the traffic department at the Zimbabwe Republic Police, I don't think it's a good idea for them to run a public transport business, because for me, it's a massive conflict of interest, and that could be a good starting point. Anyway,
Konapo, ipapo, ba ZTN Prime, DSTV channel 294, the place to be.